The ice storm screamed across the frozen land, ripping through the alien sky like a wild animal. The wind howled, tearing at the cliffs. And at the edge of that cliff, they threw her. She landed hard, her paralyzed body twisting in the snow. Cold swallowed her instantly. Her purple skin turned pale, her fingers twitching before they went still. She couldn't move her legs. She couldn't fight. All she could do was scream, but even that was weak. The alien soldiers above looked down. For a moment, one of them laughed. Another spit over the edge. "She's still breathing," one of them muttered, sounding annoyed. "Not for long," the other replied. "Let the ice take her. Trash like her doesn't deserve a grave." They turned away without another word. The girl's eyes stayed open. She saw their shadows vanish into the blizzard. No one was coming back for her. She was born with a twisted spine. Her legs had never worked. Her arms were weak. Her people called her a burden, a mistake. Even her own father refused to look her in the eye. He said she brought shame to their bloodline. She believed him. But now, lying broken in the snow, she realized something worse. She didn't want to die. Not like this. Not alone. Not thrown away like trash. She opened her mouth and screamed again. Her voice was hoarse, nearly silent in the roaring wind, but she forced it out, again and again. Somewhere far away, across the snowy valley, a human was walking. The thick jacket was covered in ice. His boots crunched through the snow with slow, careful steps. His face was covered with goggles and a mask, but under it, his breath was sharp and steady. He was a medic, not a soldier. Out. Not a fighter. Just a man who had come to this alien land as part of a peace mission. His name was Logan Reed, he was supposed to be heading back to base. The storm was getting worse. But then he stopped. He heard something at first. He thought it was just the wind. A strange echo. But then it came again. A high, broken sound. It didn't fit the rhythm of the storm. It sounded too real. He turned his head, listening closely. A scream. Faint. Scared. Desperate. Logan pulled off his gloves and clicked his scanner. It didn't show any life signs. The signal was too weak. But something in his gut told him to go. He changed direction and began moving uphill. Toward the cliffs. The storm grew stronger. Snow slapped against his face like slivers of glass. His legs ached. His lungs burned. But he didn't stop. Sound kept coming, and now it felt like it was pulling him at the edge of the cliff. Logan spotted something strange, a dent in the snow. A trail. Faint but real. He knelt and brushed the snow away with his hand. And there she was, half buried, shaking, eyes wide with fear and ice. For a second, Logan froze. He had never seen someone like her before. Her face was delicate but bruised. Her skin was alien but beautiful. And her body was broken. Her mouth moved. No sound came out. But he didn't need words to understand. She wanted to live, without wasting time. Logan unzipped his pack and pulled out thermal blankets. He wrapped her carefully, gently, like she would shatter if he wasn't soft enough. Her eyes blinked slowly. She didn't fight him. She didn't believe it was real. Logan lifted her into his arms. Her body was freezing. He could barely feel her pulse. "Don't worry," he whispered, even though he didn't know if she could understand. "I've got you." He turned back into the storm, carrying her close. Every step was harder than the last, but he never looked back. Somewhere behind them, the wind screamed louder than ever, like it was angry that someone had dared to save her. Inside Logan's shelter, the fire was already burning. He set her down gently on a heated pad and placed a breathing mask over her. She flinched once, then went still. Her body was safe now. But her mind, her heart, her soul, they were still trapped in that cold. Logan sat beside her, wiping snow from her cheeks. He had seen many wounds in his life gunshots, burns, broken bones, but this girl's pain was different. She had been wounded long before the storm. She had been thrown away by her own kind. As her chest rose and fell slowly under the blanket, Logan stared at her and felt something strange in his heart. Not pity, not duty. It was something deeper, something that whispered this girl matters. Outside, the storm roared, trying to bury them both in white silence. But inside, the fire kept burning, and she, once forgotten, was now remembered. The wind grew sharper, stabbing at his face like icy knives. Logan's boots sank deeper into the snow with every step. The storm was no place for a man alone. His radio was dead. His scanner was useless. Logic screamed at him to turn back, but something else screamed louder. It wasn't just the wind. That sound had a rhythm, a cry buried in the blizzard. Logan's ears were trained to pick out distress calls, wounded voices, suffering. This scream was different, wild, fragile. It felt like someone was dying now, like someone had already been left for dead. He pushed forward. The snow swallowed everything. Landmarks disappeared. Even the sky seemed to vanish. But Logan's instincts led him to the cliffs. There, the wind howled louder than anywhere else. That's when he saw it. Tracks not. Footsteps, but drag marks like someone had been pulled, dumped, and left. He dropped to one knee, brushed snow away. His stomach twisted. It was a hand-thin, frostbitten, purple skin barely visible under the ice. And then her face, frozen tears on her cheeks. Lips cracked. Her chest moved. Barely she was alive, Logan didn't hesitate. He pulled out a thermal wrap and covered her from head to toe. He tapped his emergency heat unit small, but enough to keep her core warm. She was unconscious now. But something told him she had fought until her body gave up. He lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, malnourished, weak. And yet when he held her, he felt a weight that wasn't physical. It was the kind of weight that said no one else came for her, ever. Turning back toward his shelter. Logan knew it would be a long walk, but he didn't stop. The wind screamed louder, as if angry he had stolen what it tried to claim. Ice clung to his clothes, trying to freeze his limbs. He slipped twice, once nearly falling off the narrow edge, but he tightened his grip on her each time. He whispered to her even though she couldn't hear, "You're not dying like this, not today." Inside the shelter, warmth hit his skin like fire. He rushed her to the heat pad, activated the oxygen mask, and began scanning her body. No major bleeding. Pulse slow. Temperature dangerously low, but her eyes fluttered. Logan knelt beside her and held her hand. It was cold, fragile, like holding a branch made of glass. "You're safe now," he whispered. Her eyes opened just a little. She looked around, confused. Her lips moved, but no sound came. He adjusted the mask. "It's okay. Don't speak. Just rest." But her lips kept trying. Her face, twisted in pain, was trying to say something. Finally, a whisper broke through. "Why?" Logan paused. "Why?" She blinked slowly. "Why did you save me?" He sat beside her, unsure if she could understand his words. But he answered, "Anyway, because you screamed." She stared at him. "No one screams like that," he continued, voice low. "Not unless they still want to live." Tears welled in her eyes, but they didn't fall. Maybe she had cried too much already. Maybe there were no tears left. She looked away, ashamed. But Logan didn't leave. He pulled a fresh blanket over her body and placed a hot bottle near her side. Then he sat down on the floor beside her, silent. The storm outside hadn't stopped. But inside, something else had started. Her eyes closed again, this time not from pain, but from warmth. He stayed there all night, watching her, guarding her. His weapon rested beside him, but he didn't touch it. The only fight here was against death, and tonight, death had lost. She opened her eyes slowly. The ceiling above her was made of metal, but it didn't feel cold. There was heat in the air, soft light glowing near the edges. A strange hum echoed gently around her. For a moment she thought she had died and this was some quiet afterlife. But then pain, sharp, deep, and real. She was alive. Her body refused to move. Her legs still felt like stone, useless and cold. Arms were heavy, but her mind was clear enough now to feel fear. She tried to sit up. A groan escaped her throat. The pain returned like a fire. That's when she noticed him, the human. He was sitting on the floor, leaning back against the wall. His arms were crossed, head resting slightly to the side, eyes closed. He looked tired. His brown hair was messy. His face had red marks from the cold, but he was breathing calmly, watching him. She realized something strange. She wasn't in chains. She wasn't locked. She wasn't thrown into a corner. She was in a soft bed, under a warm blanket, and this human, he had stayed by her side all night. Why? Her dry lips moved. You. The man's eyes opened at once. He leaned forward. You're awake, he said gently. That's good. She stared at him. You're safe now, he added, keeping his voice calm. Just rest. But she didn't relax. Her mind was racing. She remembered the fall, the snow, the screams, the storm, then the warmth, then him. She opened her mouth again. Why did you save me? He blinked. Maybe he wasn't expecting her to ask that first. But he didn't look away. Because you were screaming. She frowned. That didn't make sense. I've heard many cries, he continued. But yours wasn't just pain. It was something more. She stared harder, trying to read his face. You wanted to live, he said quietly, even if no one else wanted. You too. Her chest tightened. No one had ever said that to her before. No one had ever believed she had the right to live. Her own people told her she was cursed, broken, a mistake that should have never been born. Even her father had said it. To her face, but this human, this stranger, he didn't know her. He didn't owe her anything, yet he risked his life to carry her through the blizzard just because she screamed. He stood and poured some warm liquid into a cup. It's just broth, he said, easy to drink. You need to regain strength. She didn't move. Her throat burned. She didn't trust him yet.
How could she?
But he didn't force her. He placed the cup near her hand, then returned to his spot by the wall. There was silence between them, broken only by the sound of the wind outside, still beating against the shelter. After a while she asked, What is your name? He smiled slightly. Logan Reed, Field Medic, Earth Alliance. Earth, she repeated softly. You're from Earth. That's right. She had heard stories about humans, where people called them wild, dangerous, even primitive, but this human didn't match the stories. He was kind, gentle, quiet, and he didn't treat her like trash. She looked down at her blanket. My name is... Rilla. Logan nodded. Nice to meet you, Rilla. She wasn't used to that either. No one had ever said her name like it mattered. Will I walk again? She asked. His face turned serious. Your legs aren't gone, but the damage is deep. Cold like that can kill nerves. You need rest, heat, food. After that, therapy, time. She swallowed hard. And if I don't heal, then we find another way. Her lips parted. Why would you care? He looked at her for a long moment before answering. Because I was trained to save lives, not just the easy ones. All of them. She felt a crack inside her chest. Ow. From pain, but from something trying to grow again. Hope. For years she had known only rejection. She had begged her father not to abandon her. She had cried when the healers gave up on her legs. She had screamed as they dragged her to the cliffs. No one came for her, until now, until him. I thought humans were cruel, she whispered. He gave a soft shrug. Some are some of your kind, but not me, not to you. She looked at him, again really looked. And for the first time, didn't feel like garbage. She felt like someone worth saving. Rilla stared at the firelight flickering on the ceiling, listening to the low hum of the heater and the distant scream of the storm outside. The blanket around her was thick, but her heart still felt cold. She hadn't spoken in hours. Logan didn't press her. He stayed nearby, silent, checking his tools, sometimes watching her from the corner of his eye. Then he stood up and walked over to her bed. It's time, he said softly. I need to check your spine. Her fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the blanket. He didn't miss it. I'll be gentle, he added. Rilla gave the smallest nod, but inside, she was terrified. She had been examined before, by her people's medics, by cold hands and colder voices. They poked at her, whispered things she wasn't meant to hear, words like useless, failed, shame. Every touch had felt like punishment, like being reminded she was broken beyond repair. Logan pulled on a fresh pair of gloves, slow and quiet. He sat beside her and reached under the blanket only as far as he needed. His hand rested gently on her lower back. She flinched. It wasn't the pressure, it was the memories. Her breath came fast. She wanted to tell him to stop, to leave her alone. But the words got stuck in her throat. Then he moved his hand up slightly, fingers tracing the edges of her spine. Reading the damage through years of scar tissue and recent frostbite, he said nothing for a long time, and that silence made her more afraid than he spoke. Your spine is curved near the base. Some damage may be from birth, but the tissue is alive. I think some signals are still reaching your legs. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her whole body was tense. Her jaw clenched. She shut her eyes, tightly, trying not to cry, but a tear slipped out anyway. Logan saw it, his hand stilled. "Rilla," he said gently, "did I hurt you?" She shook her head. "Then why are you crying?" She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice cracked, throat burned. "Because no one ever touched me like that, without hate." Logan didn't move for a second. Then he slowly pulled his hand back and covered her gently with the blanket. "Again, I'm sorry," he said. She looked at him, confused. "Why?" "'Cause you had to live that way," he said, eyes sad. "And because the people who were supposed to care failed you." The words hit her harder than she expected. She turned her face away, hiding her tears in the blanket. Logan didn't press her for more. He stood and turned toward his pack, giving her space. But the silence between them wasn't empty anymore. It was heavy with truth. After a while, she spoke again, voice low and trembling. "Do you think I can walk again?" "I think you can." "Fight again," he said. "If we're lucky, walking might be part of that fight." She almost smiled. It felt strange on her face, like her muscles had forgotten how to do it. Logan brought her a fresh mug of warm broth. She tried to lift it, but her fingers were too weak. Without saying anything, he helped guide the cup to her lips. There she sipped. Slowly, the warmth spreading through her chest like sunlight breaking through clouds. When she was done, she whispered, "Why are you being kind to me?" He looked her in the eyes and said something no one ever had, "Because kindness is the only reason you're still alive?" Rilla didn't respond. Her heart was too full, too confused, too raw. But something inside her changed. She no longer felt like a burden in a stranger's shelter. She felt like someone who mattered. She closed her eyes again. And this time it wasn't from pain or shame. It was from peace, and Logan stayed close, watching the fire, guarding the quiet space they had built together, where broken things were not thrown away but slowly made whole again. The storm had passed. Rilla could finally see sunlight through the shelter's frosted window. A quiet glow touched the walls. It was the first time in days she didn't hear the wind screaming. The silence felt strange, but safe. She lay on the bed, eyes half open, blanket tucked around her, feeling a little stronger. Her body still refused to move fully, but the pain had faded. Logan had changed her bandages in the morning. His hands were careful, his voice soft. She felt human around him, even though she wasn't. Logan was outside now, just a few steps from the door, gathering water. He'd set up heat wires to melt snow. Every action he took was with purpose, clean, simple. Focused, she was watching him through the small window when she saw the shadows. 3 figures, tall, heavy-footed, moving. Recognized the way they walked, the armor, the shape of their shoulders. It's the way they didn't hide their weapons. They were from her clan. They had come back, and they weren't here to help. Her breathing grew sharp as her hands trembled. She looked at the door, then at her weak body. She couldn't run. She couldn't even roll off the bed without help. The door slammed open. Logan stepped in fast, wiping snow from his gloves, but froze when he saw her face. Her lips were shaking, her eyes wide. "What is it?" he asked quickly. Before she could answer, the door burst open again. They entered without warning. 3 aliens. All warriors, covered in metal, faces hidden behind frost-coated helmets. Their eyes landed on Rilla immediately. "She's still alive," one growled. The tallest one stepped forward, You were told to stay away, human. This is not your concern. Logan didn't blink. He moved in front of Rilla, blocking their view of her. She's under my care, he said. Calm. Cold. She belongs to us. The alien barked. No, Logan answered. You gave her to the storm. She doesn't belong to anyone now. The second warrior pulled out a weapon, a long electric staff. The hum of energy filled the air. Rilla gasped, but Logan didn't flinch. If you try to take her, he said, voice flat, you'll have to come through me. They laughed. A hard metallic sound. You think we fear a soft-skinned medic? One said. I think you don't know what I carry, Logan replied. He reached slowly into his coat and pulled out a human sidearm. Small, black, but deadly. It clicked as he powered it on. A red light blinked across the barrel. The alien stopped, laughing. I'm not here for a fight, Logan said. But I won't watch you hurt her again. The leader narrowed his eyes. She is weak, broken. She's a disgrace to our bloodline. We came to end her misery. She doesn't need mercy, Logan said sharply. She needs time. They stared at each other. The tension in the room was thick. One wrong move and blood would hit the floor. Behind Logan, Rilla struggled too. Speak. Her throat was dry, her voice barely more than air. Why? She whispered. Why are you protecting me? The lead warrior stepped forward. Because he's a fool. Logan didn't look away. Because she's alive, and I listen when someone screams. A long silence followed. Then the lead warrior lowered his weapon slightly. You'll regret this, human. Logan didn't reply. He just kept the weapon aimed. One by one, the warriors backed out the door. Their eyes filled with hate but also confusion. They weren't used to being challenged. They weren't. T used to someone defending her, when the door slammed shut again, and their footsteps faded. Rilla felt her chest loosen. She wasn't dead. Logan put the gun away and walked back to her side. You okay? He asked. She nodded barely. You should rest, he said. But she didn't. She looked at him, voice shaking. They came to kill me. I know. You risked your life. I'd do it again. Why? He looked at her like it was the simplest thing in the world. Because no one else will. Her eyes burned. This man didn't know her anything, but he stood between her and death like it was his duty. And in that moment, the first time, she believed she might be worth saving. Rilla stared at the ceiling again. But something inside her had changed. The sky outside was blue now. No storm, no shadows. The air inside the shelter was warm and quiet. But her thoughts, those were louder than ever. She had seen death in the eyes of her own people. It came to finish what they started, to erase her like a mistake. But Logan stood between them and her, without armor, without fear. He didn't just protect her. He made a choice, and for the first time. So did she. She didn't want to die. Not anymore. Logan walked in carrying a bowl of soft food and a cup of hot broth. He set them beside her and gave her a tired smile. Good morning, he said. She nodded. Thank you, for yesterday. You don't need to thank me, he replied. You survived. That's all that matters. She looked at him for a long moment. I didn't just survive, she whispered. It changed. He tilted his head. What do you mean? I wanted to die, she admitted. Before you found me, I screamed because I didn't want the cold to win. But part of me still believed I deserved to be thrown away. Logan's face was quiet. He said nothing. Now, she continued, I want to live. A soft silence settled between them. Logan reached out and gently touched her shoulder. Then let's help you do that. After breakfast, Logan began his routine, cleaning her wounds, checking her vitals, measuring her pulse. He moved with practiced hands, always speaking gently, always explaining what he was doing. But today, something was different. When he touched the lower part of her leg, she jerked slightly. He paused. Did you feel that? She blinked. Ow. What? He pressed again, this time more firmly. Her foot twitched. Rilla gasped. I felt something. Logan's heart skipped. Move your toes, he he said quickly. Try to move them. She stared at her feet under the blanket, her whole body tensed. She closed her eyes, focused harder than ever before. Nothing. She took a deep breath, lips trembling. Then something moved, just a little, but it moved. Her smallest toe curled slightly. She let out a cry, sharp and wild. Logan dropped to his knees beside the bed. Do it again, he said. She did. Tears filled her eyes. I thought it was gone. I thought my body was frozen forever. It's not, Logan said, smiling wide. You're healing. She started crying, but not from pain, not from fear. From hope. The one thing she never thought she would feel again. I can move, she whispered. You can fight, Logan said, and soon you'll walk. She covered her face with both hands, sobbing. Her shoulders shook. He didn't try to stop her. He just sat beside her and let her cry as much as she needed. When she finally lowered her hands, her eyes were red but alive. What happens now? She asked. Now we begin therapy. Small movements, daily stretches. I'll help guide your muscles back. Her voice dropped. What if I fail? You won't. How can you be sure? Because you're stronger than anyone who left you behind. She stared at him, then nodded slowly. She didn't believe in her body yet, but she believed in his belief, and sometimes that was enough. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay awake, staring at her toes under the blanket. Every few minutes, she tried again. A twitch, a flick, a slow bend. Each movement was a miracle. Each one proved she was still alive. Logan sat by the fire, writing notes in his field log. But when he looked up and saw her smiling, really smiling, he closed the book. He didn't need data, he just needed this moment. The girl they all abandoned was beginning to return, not just her body, her spirit too. The sun was rising over the ice fields. Golden light touched the hills, turning the frozen world into silver fire. The storm was long gone, the wind had died, and in the quiet morning something impossible was happening inside the human shelter. Rilla was standing, her legs shook, her breath came fast. And Logan stood just inches away, ready to catch her if she fell. But she didn't fall. One step. Then another slow, shaky, but hers. Tears ran down her face as her bare feet touched the warm floor. Her knees trembled, her muscles ached. But she was walking. The girl who had been thrown into the snow as nothing was standing like someone who refused to be forgotten when her legs gave out. Logan caught her gently and lowered her back to the bed. She laughed through her tears. I walked. She whispered. You did, Logan said. We'll do it again tomorrow. It wasn't just her legs that had changed. Her eyes were different now. They weren't filled with fear or shame. They were alive, strong. Hopeful. That same day, a message came through the radio. A surprise. A small team of diplomats and alien officials were arriving. Some from her people's territory, others from the Human Alliance. They were investigating reports of violence near the edge of the neutral zone. Someone had mentioned a wounded alien female rescued by a human medic. Logan gave her a choice. I can tell them nothing, he said. You don't have to speak to them. But Rilla shook her head. No, she said softly. Let them see. Me. When the transport landed, a group stepped into the shelter. The first to enter was an elder from her clan. He paused when he saw her, sitting upright in the chair Logan had built for her therapy. Her legs were wrapped, her arms thin, but she was alert, proud, alive. The elder looked away, ashamed. You were declared dead, he said. Your body was never recovered. We assumed the cold had taken you. No, she said, voice steady. You left me. But the cold wasn't the one that tried to kill me. Gasps filled the room. Logan didn't speak, stood behind her, hands at his sides, watching her speak her truth. Another alien, a council leader, stepped forward. Is it true that you walked this morning? Rilla nodded. That's not possible, he muttered. It wasn't, she said, until he made it possible. She pointed at Logan. He found me when my own people threw me away. He carried me through a storm. He sat beside me when I screamed. He never called me broken. The elder bowed his head. We were wrong. Yes, Rila said, and I want everyone to know. She paused. Not because I want revenge, but because no other girl like me should be thrown to the snow again. There was silence, then something unexpected. The aliens in the room slowly knelt, not to apologize, to honor. Rila blinked, unsure what to say. But the meaning was clear. She was once a discarded life now. She was a symbol of survival, a story that would be told across worlds. Later that night, Logan helped her back into bed. She was tired, her body still weak, but her soul was tall. You didn't just help me heal, she said, looking at him. You gave me back my name. You never lost it, he said softly. You just needed someone to say it without fear. She reached out and took his hand. You saved me. You smiled, you saved yourself. The wind outside began to stir, again whispering over the cliffs. But this time, Rilla didn't hear danger in it. She heard strength. She was no longer the girl thrown into the ice like garbage. She was the girl who stood again. The galaxy would never forget her.